chairperson of the Eastern Cape, a rainbow nation builder, and a believer in people. Ladies and gentlemen, Mhambi Relations will come in and introduce Molo Mhambi Relations. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Putting Shelly on the spot there. He had to do that twice because he was, everybody was in the waiting room when he did it the first time. Thank you all so much for making time to join us this afternoon. My name is Mhambi Relations, the CEO and founder of Molo Mhambi Relations, this exciting new project that we are all here to celebrate today. I am an Eastern Cape girl, born and bred here in the Eastern Cape. And I want to introduce you to Molo Mhambi Relations. Molo Mhambi means hello traveler in isiXhosa. And what we want to do with Molo Mhambi Relations is to help tourism and hospitality businesses to greet more travelers at their door and to welcome more travelers into the Eastern Cape and around South Africa and Africa. Molo Mhambi Relations helps tourism and hospitality businesses to manage their offline and online relationships, those relationships resulting in increased arrivals and an enhanced traveler experience. Molo Mhambi, sawubona sihambi, shewana mapfumba, dumela moeti, hello besuker, hello traveler. We are here to help you greet more travelers by nurturing your brand's relevance and leveraging the authenticity of your product. My name is Mhambi Relations. As I said, I was born here in the Eastern Cape, halfway between what is now Gqeberha and Makhanda, which was then Port Elizabeth and Grahamstown, on a farm in Seven Fountains, on my grandmother's mud floor. My roots are deeply entrenched in this province. I went to Sunridge Primary School here in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape, St. James's Roman Catholic High School. Thank you very much, Vashti. And I went to study anthropology and legal theory at Rhodes University and came back with a degree from the University of Life. But one thing that Anthropology 3 sent me on was a study about the displacement of communities by conservation, tourism, and game reserves. I went to work at Kichaka Game Lodge, which is now part of Lalibela, and I didn't realize that the tourism bug would bite me and hold me in its grasp forever. Tourism has raised me, it has been my empowerment, and my passion is to see tourism empower other people, particularly in South Africa, and also educate people. Tourism is a form of education. When you travel, you learn new culture, you learn new things that completely expand your horizons, and that is my wish for every person to experience. I started my hospitality career at Kumba Private Game Reserve in the Eastern Cape. That was my first encounter with high-end luxury, 5-star hospitality. That experience taught me the high expectations that come with producing experiences like that, of such a high-end quality. I learned what it means to work hard, the value of hard work. My first day there, I was in housekeeping and working alongside women who raised me in the community around Seven Fountains. I worked as a waitress and a hostess every vacation that I got at Rhodes University, and really came to understand luxury hospitality and really just bedazzled by it. It was something that was very foreign to me at the time. My next job was as a reservationist and receptionist at Kichaka. And that was an experience that really led me to connect with guests. As a reservationist and a receptionist, I picked up the phone when somebody inquired. I greeted them and welcomed them during check-in when they arrived. And I used to also be a nighttime duty manager because I lived on the property. And I got an opportunity to host guests. You know, once they come back from game drive and they're relaxed and you're serving them a drink, you're able to really connect with guests at that time. And obviously being from the area, I shared the story of Seven Fountains. I told them about what was there before the wild animals, that we used to go in and pick berries in where they would be doing their game drives, that we would go and mine for white clay, which was used to paint the mud houses that we grew up in. So that led me to really connect with guests in a unique way. And from that, making friends and being that friendly face that they, on their Facebook timeline, that they always tied to their amazing experience in the Eastern Cape. And guests and agents alike, hosting agents, I got to learn that the real deal about tourism, or not the real deal, but the where the hub was Cape Town. And from the moment I met agents from Rhino Africa and all these other companies, I really wanted to move to Cape Town, and I dreamed of working at the luxury hotels in Cape Town, the Mount Nelson, the Cape Grace, the 12 Apostles. I contacted all of them and spent a week in Cape Town, and came back with a job at the Cape Grace, which was my dream. One thing that I really learned at the Cape Grace was attention to detail. Attention to detail in communications, attention to detail when it comes to deriving what a customer really needs. And if you didn't know, Cape Grace, I better not get into trouble. That is the real secret behind the fantastic customer service that you experience at establishments like the Cape Grace, particularly like that grand old dame at the waterfront. And there I learned that in order to really serve a customer, you need to understand them, and that's very important in tourism. I really became fantastic at communicating what I was able to extract from guests and agents, and applying that insight to upsell as a reservations consultant. That clicked, right? That link between what happens at reception, what happens at reservations, it really clicked, and I wanted to pursue a career in sales in hospitality. Melanie van der Merwe, who's tuning in from Miami, was one of the sales and marketing representatives at the Cape Grace at the time. And I used to look at her, I was like, oh, I want to be like that lady with the sass and the travel and everything she embodied. And that really inspired me. So I then pursued shadowing within the team that was at the Cape Grace, and finally landed a position at Steenberg, which would allow me to do reservations consulting, but also do some sales assistance. And I worked with Sumari Foster, and that was then when I really encountered the travel trade, understanding what it means to package, to communicate with agents, to host agents, to build those relationships. And as I was juggling the reservations, taking care of direct clients and agents, I also managed the online travel agents. And I became particularly good at translating the information that we packaged for sales, taking the data that I was seeing from the sales reports I was preparing, and arranging that on the online travel agents in order to sell the property and manage the distribution and close off and make those decisions. And I was fortunate enough that Sumari Foster believed in me, and she gave me the space to do that, and she allowed me to make mistakes and learn. And really that has been my journey in tourism, people believing in me and giving me opportunities to learn. And this has been really, really wonderful. Thank you so much, Mel. I forgot to record, but I am live on Facebook, so I hope Facebook will get everything. Thank you for that reminder. So really, people believing in me, and that is what tourism has really been about, learning how to navigate this industry and work my way up. And so as I started really appreciating digital content marketing and the distribution of tourism products online, I came across an opportunity to work for Booking.com, which is of course an online travel agent that is based in the Netherlands. And at that time I was living in Cape Town in Turkey, and it was just down the road in Rondebosch. And I interviewed and I got the job to onboard hotels. So I was working with hotels all over Africa, and helping them to package their written content and their photography and their information in such a way that it could communicate their product to guests all over the world. This was really exciting stuff. It was a whole new world at that time. And what I learned from Booking.com was the value of creating content for digital distribution. And my writing, as well as my insight in understanding the operations within hospitality, led me to I became promoted. I was promoted to be a content editor for Booking.com. And in that role, I researched and helped create the first insider guide for Cape Town. So when a guest from anywhere in the world would book on Booking.com to come to Cape Town, once they confirmed, they'd get a little insider guide with all of the right bars and restaurants and things to do. And that was really the beginning of creating destination content. The time that I spent at Booking.com was a wonderful opportunity for me. It really did change my life. I got to travel internationally for the first time. And I so wish that so many young people where I'm from would actually take advantage of the opportunities in tourism, because that's what tourism allows you to do. It allows you to really be a tourist, and it inspires that travel bug. So I created and researched a lot of content. I coordinated the entire Southern Sun cluster for Booking.com, making sure that the hotels were well represented online, and I was the central contact when it came to coordination because of the insight that I have in hospitality. I challenged one thing though, obviously with Booking.com being a European country, being from a European country and my understanding of game reserves, I had to challenge how lodges were represented on Booking.com. For obviously everything being Eurocentric, it was difficult to translate a villa or a chalet into really what lodge accommodation represented. I didn't win that challenge, but I'm glad that I took it up, because it's very important for South African tourism experiences to be communicated in a way that our guests overseas will understand, but in a way that's also authentic to who we are, right? We have a whole unique brand of hospitality in Africa. And another highlight of mine at Booking.com was also challenging the interfaces, such as how interleading rooms were represented for hotels, and the struggles of actually booking off and closing off an interleading room. And from the insight that I had in reservations, knowing that if you are selling an interleading room and one person is booking it and the other side is not booked, rather not book it out. And there were just challenges around how that worked online. And that was challenged until I helped challenge that until the interfaces were actually updated for South Africa. And that was a really important thing that I feel that I helped accomplish for Booking.com. My love for Africa and African content and travel took me back to representation and sales, and I wanted to get back into that environment. So I joined the team at Classic Portfolio after Booking.com, and I did that to manage content. So I managed content, I helped write the sales communications, and again, the travel trade communication was really entrenched as a skill. If you've ever worked with Suzanne Bailey-Kaup, you know the skill that she has for communicating sales information. And I needed to relearn that, and it was very useful, like a useful lesson. One thing that I did during that time was also manage the logistics and meetings of one of the most successful Indabas I think the company had, and managing crises through that. If you've been to Indaba and you know the perils of dealing with a lot of people and a lot of meetings and a lot of preparations and stands, I quite calmly managed that, and I think that was one of the things I have been most proud of, and it also allowed me to obviously communicate much closer with the travel trade. And my time at Classic Portfolio really brought back the love that I had for conservation, and why conservation was important to me as this farm laborer's daughter that grew up in a place that was now filled with wild animals and dedicated to the preservation of land for wildlife and restoration of land to what it was before farming. So the work that Classic Portfolio did across Africa for marketing tourism in partnership with conservation was really important for me, and it made me understand why tourism was so important in Africa. I then had an itch to go home after that. I wanted to come back to the Eastern Cape. I am a firm believer, and actually knowing from the people that I studied with at Rhodes University, that there's so much talent in people from the Eastern Cape, so much education, and it is scattered all over South Africa and the world. And it is my dream, and I irritate my friends to no end when I say, right, you've had your 15 years in Johannesburg now. You are a fantastically skilled expert at A, B, C, or D. Please come home and let's do something to make a difference and apply that to home. And for the representatives from the Premier's office that are here, I really do want to reiterate that there is resistance, you know. In the Eastern Cape, we definitely need a business environment that enables young people to thrive, like they thrive in Johannesburg and Durban and the likes. So I came back home because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make an impact, and I wanted my experience to really do that within the tourism industry. And I called up, you know, someone at Mantis, and I was connected to Ignis Leroux, who is online. Hello, Ignis. Thank you so much for joining. And we sat down, we had a conversation, and I pretty much explained to him everything that I've explained to you about what my experience was and what my passion was. And that's how I joined the team at Mantis. I created content management systems at Mantis. I wrote and helped build individual property websites. And one of the first things that I did when I arrived back is I introduced myself to the team at Nelson Mandela Bay Tourism. And from that partnership, we developed something called the Vacation with Mantis, which was something we used to leverage the authenticity of the products that were packaged so cleverly by Nelson Mandela Bay Tourism into the vacation pass. Well, actually, it wasn't a vacation pass at that time. It was called the Nelson Mandela Bay Tourism Pass. And by packaging it with Mantis, Mantis became more relevant to the domestic market. And it was a destination first campaign and package that highlighted the Bay. And it also did something, it increased or aimed to increase the average length of stay. If you've ever been in a tourism meeting in Nelson Mandela Bay, you know that we've got this length of stay problem where we cannot get people to stay more than 1 or 2 nights. So that package was specifically designed to increase the length of stay, to eliminate packaging admin, and it was also an extra sales and distribution channel for that Nelson Mandela Bay Tourism Pass. And it also provided destination training for the staff across Mantis within the Nelson Mandela Bay, because they all received the pass, had an experience so that they could sell it, which is something that is so crucial. Sales and marketing for hospitality and tourism begin with the people that interact with the guest first. And if we're going to get that right, if we're going to get it right after this pandemic, we need to realize that the roles that are front-facing, that are guest-facing, need to have that insight that actually my job contributes to a really good sales and marketing effort. So another highlight that I had while I was at Mantis was something we called the Xoxa Xola campaign. It was Tourism Month, like the one that's coming to an end now. And there was, I think, like a 15,000 Rand budget for advertising for tourism. And behind everybody's back in a way, I formed a campaign that was directed towards the environmental awareness of schools along the Adder Road. Now, Adder Road leads to a very important natural heritage site, well, our wildlife being our natural heritage, which is Adder National Park. The road runs along Motherwell Township, and the grievance we always get from travelers and guests is that it's littered, it's filthy. So we got about 860 kids to help clean up the road, instilled such a paradigm shift, and in that partnered with the Economic Development Tourism Association. That team is online today. Thank you for believing in that vision. We partnered with the MBDA, which is the Nelson Mandela Bay Development Agency, Twizzler, ShopRite, Spa. It was a phenomenal public-private partnership that was also sponsored by ECPTA. Some members of that team are also online. And the government organizations partnered with private organizations within. Thank you so much for joining, Mr. Gardner. I really appreciate it. Mr. G says he has to go. Thank you for making the time. And so it was an example of the type of public-private partnership that is needed in order to make everybody aware of tourism and to make tourism work. And if tourism works for the local people, if local people understand why there are tourists coming past their community, if they are included in certain campaigns and initiatives, we get the buy-in we need. We often complain that locals are not buying into campaigns, are not buying into being good ambassadors for tourism. And we have safety issues within destinations because there is no buy-in, because people don't see the direct benefit. So campaigns like that include government, private businesses within tourism, and the businesses that also benefit from tourism. I have a few people online that I've invited today that are from businesses outside of the tourism value chain that we've worked with, because once a tourist comes in, there's a vehicle they hire, they're shopping, they're doing so many other economic activities that add to the GDP of South Africa. And so that was another highlight at Mantis, and that 15,000 Rand ad spend, I think, was turned through that campaign to publicity worth over about 140,000 Rand. So those are the highlights that I've had, and in sharing this, I want to communicate and hopefully have communicated my experience, my knowledge within the tourism industry, my network, and also my insight as a local, as a South African who's enjoyed so many experiences that I feel other people have not been able to, and we have a responsibility to share travel and to open it up, particularly in this post-pandemic stage, because if our locals enjoy our travel, they're natural ambassadors and marketers for our experiences. So Molo Mhambi Relations is a culmination of all of that, and we, as I've mentioned before, will be managing offline and online relationships that lead to increased arrivals and increased customer satisfaction. We do this through what we call the diamond process, which is digging, polishing, and displaying what makes a product authentically South African and what nurtures the relevance of a product. And if you want to find out exactly how we do that, please book a free consultation. Anyone that is online today can book a free consultation to find out some blind spots, how we do that, learn about the diamond process, and see how it can help your business. We do this through PR tactics, content management and marketing tactics, writing, of course, for digital platforms, the creation of digital platforms, social media management, and all of this is known traditionally as PR and marketing, which I believe are very important tools. And as someone I know has said, sometimes it's almost like an exercise in spraying and praying. So when Molo Mhambi Relations refers to actually managing online and offline relationships, we use these tactics in PR and marketing. However, the key is managing those relationships and identifying where they meet in order to really make tourism work and to really promote the uniqueness of South Africa and our destinations. And for us, it's also about getting SMMEs in tourism to work with existing businesses. If you think of something that I recently discovered in Mpumalanga, for example, a beautiful lodge in the township with an amazing 4x4 adventure experience, something that is so unique that I know anybody would enjoy, and actually partnering that with a lodge that actually has guests that would want to do that. And that's just one way, but every situation is unique and every relationship has the potential to have very unique and fruitful outcomes. It just takes the knowledge, the network, the experience, and the insight to discover those and leverage them. Thank you so much for listening. We have 4 minutes. Sorry, I went a little bit over the time. We have 4 minutes for questions and answers. I did see a hand somewhere, if I can find it. But if you have a question, please just unmute and go for it. So I will read, there's a comment in the chat from Shannalee Hebard. It leaves you speechless, then turns into a storyteller. Oh, she's talking about travel. Mandy, so you are one of the greatest storytellers I know, and your journey and getting to know you has left me speechless and inspired. So proud of you. Thank you so much, Shannalee. And if there aren't any questions, I'm actually going to go into my gratitudes. I want to thank everybody that has come online today. Rob Heaton in his presence, who is been a tremendous guide in this process of perfecting. Oh, there's a hand. Let me stop right there. I can't see who it is, so please just unmute yourself and go ahead. There is a hand from Siseko.
Hello, Mandisa.
Molo Putunjani.
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Shoot, go ahead. What's your question?
Just a quick one. Thank you for this presentation, a very impressive one. And thank you for inviting me, and hello to all the participants. Just a quick one. Can you just quickly, what's different from Molo Mhambi and other platforms? I don't want to mention some names. Like there are other platforms whereby we subscribe to at a certain fee, then there are marketing and promotional benefits attached to that. I'm sure you know the kinds I'm talking about. And what's different between those and Molo Mhambi, and what are the benefits and what I'm standing to gain from this? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Butsiseko, for your question. So first of all, Molo Mhambi Relations as a service, right? Assists businesses with general services in PR and marketing, which covers your brand and gets your business's image to, for example, in your case, Siseko, as an SMME, as a tour operator, gets your business to a place where it can be plugged into mainstream packages. It can be plugged in and partnered with lodges that wouldn't have necessarily been in your network, and you wouldn't have necessarily been able to partner with them. This would increase, in your instance, your access to market. You would be getting access to the market that these bigger businesses within tourism and establishments actually invest in by sending sales representatives overseas, etc. Molo Mhambi is also has a phased approach. So right now is phase 1, and we are going to be servicing clients with these services and leveraging relationships to create unique experiences and packages, and obviously with the PR distribute that in terms of information. However, there is a phase to come where we will be creating events and actually creating packages for sale. So there is, when we say outcomes-based relationship management, we mean that there is a measurable outcomes. And we mentioned it in the beginning. It's to increase your travelers, your visitors, your customers, and to also improve your customers' experience. And we find those relationships that can achieve that. So you'll be able to measure what Molo Mhambi Relations actually does for you. And you can book a private consultation with us to find out exactly how we could do that for your business, because each one is very unique. Does that answer your question, Butsiseko?
Yes, you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? I don't see any other questions. Let me just go into the chat.
Sure. Hi, Mandisa, it's Melanie.
Hello, Melanie.
I don't have a question, and I'm sorry that I'm whispering, but I just wanted to say congratulations, and this is wonderful. You're going to be amazing, and I would love to support you as much as I can.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you. What time is it there? Oh my goodness, are you whispering because everybody else is sleeping?
No, I'm in a quiet office.
Oh, you're in a quiet office. Okay. Well, I'm glad I didn't have to disturb your sleep. Let's see. I think I have another question. No other questions. So I'm going to move on to just giving appreciation and the gratitudes. I want to say, first of all, thank you so much to my family who have put up with me during this process. And yeah, it's, you know, starting a business and becoming a fledgling entrepreneur is a lot of hard work. I think we always see the end result. We always see what the successful people tell us and show us, but the journey is so unique with its own challenges. So it takes a lot. It takes a lot out of a person, and the people closest to them feel that. I want to thank Rob Heatham in his presence, who has mentored me on this process. I want to thank Natalia Rosa from Big Ambitions, who's also provided such amazing support. Shanley Hebard, who's on the call. Haneli de Toy, she's on the Mega Fam in Garden Route. Pagami Lehlazo, the EDTA, the ECPTA, Mr. Adrian Gardner, Ignis LaRue, and the team at Mantis, Russell Kruger, and the entire committee in the Eastern Cape of SATSA. Thank you so much to everybody and everyone that I haven't named. The tourism family has been incredible. We've just been through the darkest hour, and those that are still standing, our Zoom has just run out, so we ran over time there. But as I was saying, I just want to express my gratitude to everybody and wish everybody an amazing restart to the tourism industry. And I hope to see you all soon. And please do remember to book your consultation with Molo Mhambi Relations so that we can figure out how we can nurture your relevance and how we can leverage your product's authenticity. Thank you so much, and goodbye from Gqeberha, and welcome to Molo Mhambi Relations.